My name is Klaus Loehr Petersen, and I'm working in the Biodynamic Association in Denmark.
And from which part of Denmark you are?
I'm from the mainland, from Jutland, which is a peninsula of Denmark that's connected to Germany, and I'm living in the southeast part of Jutland, next to a biodynamic horticulture called Rødmose, which is also here to the preparation day. And the gardener there, Endrik Maat is his name, and I are coordinating the preparation work in Jutland, where we meet with farmers and gardeners and interested consumers 3 times a year, making the preparations together. It's spring in midsummer,
Okay.
and in autumn. So we have three times where we make different parts of the preparations. Now here in the autumn we have made the horn manure preparation, fill horns with that, and the farmers have taken the horns back and bury them in their garden, in the fields, bring them back in the springtime when we meet again, and we empty them and see how is the quality, how is the transformation been during the winter. I've been interested in biodynamics for about 50 years, and I have worked in the Biodynamic Association in Denmark for the last 25 years, making information work, projects, and different types of information for farmers, for companies, and also for the organic farmers that are are more and more interested in biodynamic. So but we have in the Biodynamic Association we have a close connection and cooperation with the Organic Farmers Association. So we have a good dialogue, and they are more and more open to the principles and the methods that we are using in the biodynamic.
My name is Gitte.
Okay.
We live close to Skanderborg, so
Okay.
it's on the east coast of Jutland.
Okay. And how long are you into biodynamics?
About a year from this season. We bought our farm 8 years ago, and we have been ecological all of the 8 years, but now we were ready to take the next step. Yeah, we were looking for an agriculture that is really in harmony with nature, so that's how we found it. And we met the biodynamical community before we got our own farm, so it has been a part of what we wanted to do. I'm a teacher.
Okay.
And my husband is a land surveyor, and we actually both still work, and then we have the farm in our free time.
My name is Endrik Maat. Many years I've been in biodynamics already, 40 years. So all my grown-up life I've been busy with biodynamics. I started in Holland on a biodynamic school education where I was 1 year, and since then I've always been working on biodynamic farms. The school is in the middle of Netherlands, almost in the center.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but it's so many years ago I almost can't remember it. I have my own farm for 30 years, so I've been making a lot of preparations and growing a lot of vegetables and doing all the things. Most vegetables, greenhouse and outdoor vegetables, and then I have some cows for the manure, a few chickens and little ducks, and a few horses.
Oh, you have horses. Oh.
Quite a lot of very broad thing of all kinds of things.
My name is Hans Lof.
And from which part of Denmark are
I'm
you?
from the southern part of Denmark by Åbenrå, close to the German border. I have been an organic farmer since 1995 and have followed the biodynamic farming on all time since there. And we started last year. We did get a dairy farm into our crop farm, and we had the opportunity to start dynamic farming, biodynamic farming. So that's why we are into it now. We do have Frisian cows, black cows, and we do grow crops as beans, peas, spelt corns as well. Also oak gluten-free oat is one of our big crops. And we do delivery over time all years to consume as a human consume food. It's not for feeding animals. It's basically for human food. Yeah, approximately what we do in full scale. So we do deliver full loads for the German market mostly, and we do supply bigger mills down there. So I cannot say in consumes, but we do 650 hectares.
Okay.
Farm. So that's the size.
It's a big farm, yeah.
It's a farm. It's a big farm. Yeah. So, but it gives also some opportunities to do different things on the farm. To take we have the resources for trying out things. And that's what we also are looking. Like we just talked about last year, we had a hemp. What's called in English? I don't know. But hemp for
hemp.
Yeah, hemp. Yeah.
Okay.
We did have last year. We will not have it again. So it was not a success in our farm. But what we have taken in now is again it's going to be raps for again human oil in cow food.
I'm Simon. I'm from a peninsula called Djursland,
And
which is
it's
to the north of here. It's like 2-hour drive to Hedeager. Well, I'd say like last year was the first year we did the biodynamic preparations, spray preparations. I did a course, like an introductory course last year, but I think like my dad has always talked about Steiner and was also interested in biodynamics, but didn't do farming. So I started farming. Like we bought a farm 7 years ago, but 3 or 4 years ago we started farming. But biodynamics sort of came with other things. Like first, just learn how to have vegetables, and I grew up with a vegetable garden, but still you have to learn things again. And then we have chickens, egg layers, and we have sheep and some ducks and bees, a lot of bees. But then I think the biodynamic principles align very well with a lot of the other things I'm studying. So it works, with the things or where I want to go. So it was a natural match.
My name is Louise. I'm from Holstebro, it's called. It's a town, so it's in the middle, south from there's a fjord. Yeah. I have known about it for 5 years, I think, but I started last year where I took contact to a biodynamic farmer. I have a small kolonihave. I have a small piece of land. And then I took contact to him because I would like to learn more about it. And then he took me to one of these meetings we are at today in the spring. So I worked in the spring meeting where we made some of these things, and then summer, and then now. And then I'm experimenting with it in my own small garden. So I have known about, but I have not done. I've been on an organic farm. I think that maybe 5 years ago I was there half a year. I didn't know before anything about how where the food comes from. I thought it was from the supermarket, and I have a lot of different background. But if you think about education, I have an education as a social worker.
okay.
Yeah,
So you work with kids or
I have
with?
done that.
Okay.
But I'm not really
And now you move to gardening, yeah?
Yeah, I do a mix of different.
My name is Karl Henning. I started as an organic farmer in 1998 and changed to biodynamic in 2006. I have vegetables, some cattle, and grass and the grain, yes. One small greenhouse.
So mostly for yourself, yeah.
Yeah, and tomatoes for selling. So, but it's not a bit. It's not.
My name's Lolke. I'm from Kolding, where we have a little farm of 10 acres and 1 acre cherry trees, 1 acre vegetables, 2 acres corn, and the rest is meadows. And we have cows, pigs, sheep, chickens and bees. And we only produce to direct to customers. So we don't sell to wholesale. I've been in biodynamic farming since 1976. And I learned about it by working on biodynamic farms. And when I was 20, I went to a biodynamic school for agriculture in Holland. I am from Holland. There are about, I think, 300-400 students every year. It's called Warmonde Hof. And it's a school where you both learn and work. There's a farm and a vegetable garden too. There are cows and I think chickens, sheep, everything.
My name is Mathias. Originally I'm from Zealand, the island where Copenhagen is situated, but now I live in Jutland, and in the southern part of Jutland, not far away from the German border. I have been into biodynamics for 2 months, and I learned about it many years ago. But back then I wasn't really, I felt that I wasn't really prepared mentally and spiritually to go into that in real life. I think I had needed some years to prepare myself. I think that it was just that's hard to explain actually. Actually, some things happened in my life. I got a job on a conventional farm where I just learned how to drive a tractor, for example. And just after a year there, I met a woman living in Jutland, and I moved to her place, and not far away from where she lives, I found a job in biodynamics. Just actually coincidences in a row. Yeah.
My name is Chris. I'm from the west part of Denmark, not so far from the North Sea. Since 2011. I have learned it the last 20 years about the biodynamic. Before that I didn't know what biodynamic was, and I learned about it because some of my friends brought me to a farm in Germany, and I visited 1 or 2 times, and the third time I was at that farm, I was there in practice for 24 hours, and this farm had an atmosphere which was nice to me, and the old farmer learned me how the ground, how the soil should be to be good, and the whole experiment at that farm was that it was possible on a little farm to make a lot of jobs. So at that farm there was 55 people, and they did everything. Grocer as I, a business shop, milk cows as I, a little pigs, but also much vegetables growing in glass houses and in the fields, and of course many other things. I think they had everything on this farm, not ducks, but maybe they had a dog. On my farm there are, as I tell it, about 100 cattle, mothers, babies and bulls, and 200 pigs, but sometimes we have small accidents, so now we have more than 200 pigs, but because some of the pigs has got new small pigs, and that gives us a little bit extra work to do, but it also gives me possibilities to make a business who can be bigger than I planned, and that's great. The customers is mostly private people, but I have a few stores and I have very few restaurants, but they are dedicated to the biodynamic all very much. But the customers is even more. Some of them maybe a little, if they think that it's important to have money, and because biodynamic very often will be a little bit more, the prices will be a little bit higher than normal things, but as I see it, they shall maybe not pay the bill for when you buy bad food. You will be too fat, you will lose energy, you will maybe get sick, and the meaning of eating is that we shall get high energy. So today, where we have had all the visitors here at the Biodynamic Farmers, they know it.
Most challenging is maybe what we are doing here, making the preparations and explaining why do we make the preparations the way we do, with horns, different organs and things like that, to people who have not been involved with it, haven't seen it. So that's why we normally are more, we often explain how to use the preparations, how they work, how the results are, but how to make them. We more invite people to come instead of just showing it on a video or on pictures, because there are elements of this work here that are a little strange to people who are not prepared, and that's why we want to have a connection, have a dialogue, and also having the possibility to show them what's going on.
The most challenging? Well, that's not about biodynamic, but it is to have time for everything you want to do. So you can have a lot of good ideas, but to find the time to do everything, that's the hard part. Yeah.
Everything is good. Lot of problems you always have with the weather, and the sun doesn't shine, too much rain, but if everything goes well, then you think yes. But sometimes you don't master it because it's the weather or some other things. These diseases, they just come sometimes and you can't do anything, just sit there and wait and say, okay, good, I get no cucumbers this year. But then, of course, I have tomato and pepper and aubergine and cabbage and carrots, and so, okay, aubergine, no cucumber, doesn't matter.
Things change all the time. And I do pretty much look at what do the consumers want, where are they going to, and that's what we see. Why we have been organic now in 25 years there, and we see that the consumers have another demand on higher quality of food. And that's why we are going at that level also. So that's basically my indicator on what, because what I do produce, it has to have a market. I don't do it for, it's not for put it in stock. It has to do something good in the end.
Making a living from farming, like not being a farmer by education or not having, prior experience. I haven't had internships or anything before, just having to jump into it and also make money at the same time is definitely a challenge, but I think we have some good soils and then all these natural principles that improve the soil definitely make it a lot easier. So we're experiencing less drought stress on plants and less pest damage, less disease, so that definitely makes it easier, and also because it also means that your crops taste better and smell better, so people talk about that, and that slowly over time increases sales. I haven't had to do anything in terms of marketing, really. It's just word mouth to mouth, or word of mouth is the expression. So we haven't really had to do anything, and it's just grown a lot every year. So for the past year and a half I've been able to make a living from it, which has been very interesting. and it definitely changes a lot of your thinking.
For customers, you mentioned like they spread the word about you, but who are they?
We've mainly sold from just a roadside stand, so that's eggs year round, and then vegetables from the summer and fall, and a little bit into winter. And we also have honey, but that tends to sell out pretty fast. And then because we're often sold out, people have started asking for subscriptions. So there's, sure they they're first in line. And then for the past year we've had a restaurant, and this year we've gotten another restaurant. So that's also very different. The first restaurant we got is always making their meals based on whatever's in season. So they're very flexible and very interested in us trying new things all the time. So yeah, that certainly makes it more pest and disease. So the more healthy they are.
It's still big, but now it's like a lot of different things. It starts to make sense. I have started to dig a lot into the moon also, to get to know about the moon and the different uprising and downrising and so on. And then in the beginning it was just a lot of information, but now it's like, now it makes sense. So you can start to, but I don't know what is most challenging, because I'm just doing it in a small in a small way. But I guess it will always be the weather, maybe, because you never know. You have to work with the natural environment, and you never know. Sometimes you can have a great luck with one kind of vegetables, and the next year it's bad. In my own garden now, I have a lot of cabbage, but there are other living creatures that also like the cabbage. So there have been a lot of worms, but somebody said just leave it. Next spring it will come again, and then without worms. So I'll see.
That is to get organized enough labor in the busy times.
You really want to hear that?
Sure. Truth.
To educate young people like you.
Okay, now I feel sad.
You shouldn't. This is just because I try to do my very best.
You do. But why you think it is hard to teach young men like me? It's a very interesting point, yeah.
Because I had to think very much. Now you will get the earnest. I don't think it's very hard, but I think it's for me there is always jobs to do. When you come and ask, what shall I do now? I need to think. There are so many. I must think about the weather. How is the weather? How is very important to do? What can we do later? And is it important that I'm home? Because I'm very often away from the farm. So there is a lot of small things, and you want the answer very quickly. So I'm under press to find these jobs. Nothing else. It's only good, but it's.
I think
I need to plan a lot of things at the same time. So this is what I'm always trying to say. Just the same. If they are guests and they come with a lot of questions.
That they are not beside nature, but they are part of it, and they can help create a better harmony in our world through the way they work with the land, and through the way which vegetables they eat.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
To expand selling to local customers, and to build a shop to have only Demeter shop, to have only Demeter work, Demeter goods, for having the good quality. That is what I find is really needed in Denmark, especially in my area.
I think selling the product on 1 acre land, you can produce vegetables for 100 people, and that's a lot. So if you can have 4 acres in Ukraine, you can produce food, vegetables till 400 customers. So small is beautiful.
The fact that I really have to be aware of what I'm doing. I have to be concentrated all the time. That's a big difference from conventional farming, where everything is just the same, sort of just a big field with way. It's just what it is, and I can just close my eyes and just drive. In biodynamic farming, I really have to be aware of the crops, because the field is so how to say that? Yeah, it's just how to say that? Diverse, exactly. That's the word. Yeah, it's all diverse. So I have to be concentrated in whole other level. And the fact that I feel a deeper contact with what I'm doing. Yeah, I have had the experience that it starts some processes in me. So I have actually changed as a human being. Yeah.
And at the same time, it can be, and if you're on a press, you shall deliver the balls like today, and then when you are very busy, it takes a little time, and you must always find a good way of answering. So this is press, but not some I'm not thinking about. I don't feel it as a press. I don't have anything I feel as a press. I feel it maybe as a press today when we move cows and we are doing the wrong thing sometimes, because it must end happy for both the animals and for us, and okay.
What inspires me is what I find the result in the soil, the change in the soil, and as the years go by, that I actually harvest more and more as the soil gets more and more alive. And I see it in the vegetables, their expression and their taste, and the response we get from our customers. They can have some physical things. They can have pain somewhere in the body, and they eat my things, Demeter vegetables from my place, and after 2 weeks they have no pain. They go back to organic or conventional, the pain is back. They go back to my vegetables, the pain disappears again. And I could give more examples on this. And that is really inspiring, because then we know we are on the right track.
That inspires me is trying to be
teaching young people because they are the future.
I wish for you that you are in contact with people that are doing the same thing from your country or from other countries, and we can work together. In the Biodynamic Association in Demeter International, we have a large cooperation across the borders, across the different countries and hemispheres, and inspiring each other and helping each other to develop, because we need a lot of experience, and I think we can do very, very fine things together and be inspiring by each other. So I think this international relationship is very, very important.
I think it is just to be curious and to start out and to look at what this does to the produce that you make, because I think it's really visible that you get stronger and more healthy vegetables or produce. So you do get to live in a better harmony with nature, and that reflects in the vegetables. They have really good quality.
They just have to do it and produce good vegetables or milk or grain and bring it to the marketplace and say, look, this I have grown. If you want, you can buy it. You can't force people to buy biodynamic, but with your enthusiastic thing, yes, I have grown this, then it will work. Perhaps not this year, perhaps not next year, but in 10 years, 20 years. Then, so it's to have to start the movement now, and then perhaps in 20 years it's getting big.
So you should start in a scale where you can deliver, so you also can grow with it and go more. Because if it's only philosophy, it will go out, or it will stay in small scale. That's also a possibility. But what I look into is to make it bigger. That is what we want to supply the market. We do supply mostly German market, and it's a big demand down there. There are many people, they have a different, they do look different on the food. Like I can say, Danish people, they have higher quality demands in Germany.
Or you keep an open mind, but also I think what has helped me is to make have your own perspective on things. If a certain way someone is explaining something, for instance biodynamics, in a way that sounds off-putting to you, you can always find someone who sees the same thing in a different way that might make more sense to you. I think biodynamic farming is so much to so many different people and so many different things that you can always find someone that can explain it to you in a way so it makes sense to you. Like some aspects might not seem super relevant to you, so if that means you're not going to do it, I think that's a shame, because there's so much. In the end, I think it's about curiosity. You're observing and monitoring, and always trying new things. So I think that's what I would suggest.
I think I'm as new as you, but I hope for people that are curious about it, that they will get the feeling that they are part of nature, and that it makes sense that they are not beside nature, but they are part of it, and they can help create a better harmony in our world through the way they work with the land and through the way which vegetables they eat.
Start small and use animals, because just for an example, if you produce food on 1 hectare to 1 cow, you got manure enough to produce food for people on another half.
Wow.
Because the cow is capable of producing that much fertility to the soil.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Gives you a high consciousness, because I think that is indeed what we as a species need right now. There are many things on this planet among human beings that are going in as I see it, a false direction. Farming with a lot of poison and pesticides, and for me it's clear that if we go much far on that path, it will end in a bad way. So for me it's urgent, as much people as possible we'll get a higher consciousness as fast as possible.
That you think about the earth before you think about yourself, but think about yourself, because then your life can be very short if you don't think about yourself.
Okay, thank you.